Before we start this video, a large thank you to Xiao, Gerardo, Fat Cat Games, and Nicola for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And as always, a massive thank you to Halo Burner and Ryan Bellin for their immense support to the channel this month on Patreon. It is greatly appreciated, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So we're going to jump into the project, and somebody in the community in Patreon requested me to do weapon trails. So I'm going to hop into my weapon prefab here and open the weapon manager script. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to go to where it says find all melee damage colliders, and let's just see where we actually open this here. So the idea is, in this system, is we're going to open the weapon trail while the collider is open and close it when it's closed. So over here on open damage colliders and on closed damage colliders, we want to make a comment basically that toggles the weapon trail on or off. And you can do this somewhere else if you want. If you want it specifically somewhere in your animation, you can simply call an animation event, but that's a bit more work because then you have to do it for every animation. Or you can do it by some other means, but what I'm going to do is we're just going to ride off the coattails here of the open and close damage collider events, and we're going to go ahead and open and close it there. So you could alternatively also call it on the actual damage collider if you want to override the enable damage collider and call it there. That's possible. You just have to search the weapon manager script. There's a bunch of ways to do this. I do it a little bit differently in F because I have the weapon manager kind of more set up a little bit differently, but it's going to work the exact same way. It's going to open and close on the enable and disable of the damage collision. So on the weapon manager, let's make a toggle weapon trail function, and we're going to make it require a bool, and we're going to pass that for enabled or disabled. Then we're going to say write weapon manager, and this is on open main hand damage collider functionality, by the way, in the player equipment manager. We're going to say toggle weapon trail is equal to true, and then when we close it, we're going to say toggle weapon trail is equal to false. And make sure this is on the right weapon manager because this is main hand damage collision and open close. This is what's used for our our dual wield attacks. On our standard open damage collider, which is used for every other attack, depending on the hand you're using, use the right or left hand weapon manager and just simply toggle the trail to true. And then likewise too on the closed damage collider, do the same thing, but obviously you're gonna set it to being closed. Now this video would be a little bit short if I simply only covered one way to do weapon trail and then left it at that. So I'm going to show you 3 ways you can do it, and I'll show you a little bonus bit of what you should do if you're doing weapon buffs where you want to catch weapons on fire and all that good stuff. And I can do a more deep dive on it if you guys want as well. Make sure also on close all damage colliders you're calling this for both closing the right and left weapon trail. But yeah, if you guys see the buff weapon effects at the end and you want me to do actual full video on that, please let me know. If not, keep the requests coming. I'm keeping a list. I'm going to go through them all because right now we're just in request mode. I'm just going to go through the ones that I see that I want to do first. All right, on the weapon manager script, I'm now going to make a series of comments, pseudo code, and we're going to go through 3 possible ways you could go ahead and make this trail system. So one is the Unity trail system, which I don't like, and I'll explain why after I show it to you. 2 is a particle system, which is very good. And 3 is an alternative option, which I use in NEF, and I'll speak more on that when we get to it. So for now, we'll just call it the alt system. So I'll show you the Unity trail system first really quickly, because I'm not going to spend much time on it because I don't like it personally, but some people might. So go to your weapon, create a trail, so under your effects, and bring it up to somewhere on the blade. Use or set the time to something like 0.5 so it's very short, and make sure you set the width, add a key so over time it gets smaller, like so. So it starts off as thick as possible and then gets smaller over time. And then go to your color and make the alpha 0 at the end and make it fully opaque at the very beginning, or tweak it how you want, but generally speaking that's how trails usually work. Make a serializable field here in your weapon manager called trail renderer. I'm just going to call it trail, and then I am going to make a header here, call this trail renderer. And what we're going to do now is go under toggle weapon trail, and we're going to say if status, then we're going to do trail.play, else we're going to do trail.stop. Actually, I think trail uses emit, so we don't need to check for this. Let's see. Yes, it does. Okay, scratch that. Say trail.emitting is equal to status. Status. Yeah, all right. Which one you want to say? All right, and we're going to say if the trail is null, obviously let's return so we don't have an error and Unity complaining at us if we forget something, which is probably going to happen eventually. So now let's go back in and make sure we untoggle emitting right away under the trail component and add it to your script. And now if we save that and go into the game, here is what it looks like. And you can change the material on it, but I find it looks kind of odd and it never really fully lines up with the blade. As you can see, it's always a bit off and it doubles back on itself and looks kind of ugly. So you can play around with that and see you like it. You can pause the video if you want and come back, but you're probably going to come to the same conclusion as me where it's not quite what you want. But if it is, cool, excellent. Now let's go on to version 2, the particle system, which I find to be very, very nice. I've been using this same set, we have to say, if status trail.play, otherwise trail.stop. So the system I'm going to show you is something I learned from Gabriel Aguiar Prod, like almost a decade ago. It's a little bit different, so shout out to the man who's a master of effects in Unity. I linked his video in my old Dark Souls video, and if I remember to do that post-production, I'll link it in the description below as well. It's very simple. We're just going to basically create a particle system. Actually, I'll just do this real quick, snap back, and we can go through it together. One sec. So I'll put this up in the sword, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we go, weapon trail. Let's go through the settings. I have basically a rotation here of -90 and 90 because we're using an edge. You can see a little blue line. If I go to the shape, it's edge, and we're making it go through the edge of the blade. And then down here I have the, you can see if I twist the edge, it comes off the blade, not right, but this is where it should be. I have the start lifetime, 0.2 to 0.4, very quick. Start size is very small, 0.1 to 0.3, and the speed is at 0. That's different than Gabriel's a little bit, but I put it at 0 personally. I'll show you how it looks after it's done, and if you want to copy it, cool. If you want to modify it, go for it. So simulation space is local, that's not important. Go to a mission, and I do a 10 count of 1 cycle here, a burst, and the rate over time is 40. And you can see here again, the shape is edge, and the radius is just the length of your blade. So if I increase that or decrease it, you can see it's going to go up and down where I got it placed on the position of my blade. If I go here to color over lifetime, I have it basically alphaing out to 0 towards the end, so it gets more transparent. And we have it set to trails, particles, and then we got 1 ratio, 1 lifetime, 0.01 for minimum vertex distance. That part is a little bit important. Stretch, and then all the general stuff, but the most important part here is the width over lifetime here. And then finally on the renderer, disable renderer mode, say none, because there's no particles, we're only using the trail, and the trail material is the standard particle unit. So that's every setting there. Let's see how it looks in game. If I save this really quickly, jump into the project here, and here is actually how it looks. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. It's very simple, and it fits the style of the project we have right now. And obviously you can modify that, make it more complex, you can add more particles, whatever, but it's a nice base. Change the color, do whatever you want with it. Now, I'll show you what I use in Nef, because I had this first, and it's nice, I enjoy it, but I wanted something that was more akin to an actual trail, something like Unity does, but better. And you can see here, this looks similar to Unity's, but in my opinion, much nicer because it follows the blade. My bad, my phone was on silent. It follows the blade, and basically, I'll just pause it to show you and get a better picture of that. Let's just swing it here. And there we go, perfect. So if I come over here, look at that. It's really nice. That's right on the edge of the sword most of the time, and it looks exactly how I want it to in terms of its effect. So if I go over here now, this is actually one of the very few assets I didn't make myself. It's called Aura Trail. It's on the Unity Asset Store. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. I just really enjoy them. But here are my settings if this is something that looks nice to you. And basically I put these on all of my weapons, and it's very nearly identical to how I set up the trail in the first of the video, which is why I showed you it. You just toggle emitting on or off. Thickness will basically change how wide it is in the blade. And then you have your thickness over time, generalized stuff. So I do quite enjoy this a lot, but the particle system I also quite enjoy a lot too. So really it comes down to preference. Now the bonus bit I was going to talk about was if you want to do any kind of effect on your sword, if you have an artist friend or you're an artist yourself, what you want to do is actually copy the blade of the sword, but then duplicate it and make it slightly wider so it fits on the original blade like a glove. But make it a separate mesh so you can toggle it. And then what you're going to do is apply a material over it like so when you buff it. But even more cool is you can take that mesh you have and also apply particle effects to it that come out from the edge of the mesh. Like check this out. See, I have all the buff effects in here for my weapons. And depending on which kind of buff I have, I toggle the game object, and there you go. And each of these particle effects, if I go down to them, let's go to shape, you can see they actually use the mesh of that basically buffed portion of the blade. You see how this is just a blade but slightly bigger, so it fits over it like a glove very nicely. And to show you what that looks like in real time, I'll just buff this weapon real quick. Hang on, let me equip the ability. Whoops, I keep hitting the key, so it's untoggling my button. There we go. And now I activate it, and there you go. I think if you're at this point in the series, you definitely have the level to understand what I was just saying, but if you want me to, just for the sake of it, I can do a video covering weapon buffs at some point. It's pretty simplistic, but the only, I guess you could say, obstacle to some people is actually getting an artist to chop up parts of your weapons. But obviously an alternative is you could just buff the entire weapon in particle effects. It's not a big deal. and then you can come back and circle back to it later if you want to do only a certain specific portion of the blade. I hope you all have a very lovely weekend. As always, a special thank you to my patrons for keeping my lights on. I appreciate you all very, very much. A special thank you to the people who tell their friends and coworkers and random people of the series who take the time to like the video and leave a comment. You are all appreciated very much. As always, I hope you all have a very lovely weekend. Please keep those suggestions coming because as soon as they stop, we go on to a new series.